in the comments?
Comment. I think it was Helen.
Oh, I didn't.
Go back and have a look, so you can go and see. They said they hope you get better soon. And I mean, I suppose that's a good way to start this episode of Tell Me Where I'm Going Wrong podcast. Episode 29?
30. This is episode 30, I think. Yeah.
Which is a podcast, like you all know, about two exes who talk about everything and nothing and some things in between. Let's start by asking, how are you feeling?
Well, my finger is hovering very close to the mute button because I'm feeling much better. Thank you, Helen. I didn't see your comment. I'll go back on and respond in a second. Well, in an hour when we finish recording. But I'm feeling much better, but I still sound very ill. I've just got this horrible wheezing, rattling cough. So my finger is paused over the mute button. And hopefully I won't subject you to it. And apologies as well, because I think I was sniffing a lot in last week's episode. And I'll try...
because of the illness and you having to keep cutting away, we ended up with me talking about Take That for an hour to try and fill the gaps.
Yeah, it was a Take That... Well, not what I was going to say, it was a Take That Stan hour. But it wasn't really, because you weren't exactly standing them, were you? You were...
Well, I was kind of a little bit standing them, but then also... telling them where they've gone wrong, if you will.
Tell them how it really is.
Do you think everyone is familiar with the term stan and how people use it?
Maybe not. No, maybe not. Like, I don't think my mum would know what that meant.
Like, if you said to your mum, "Oh, Sean's a massive Lady Gaga stan," or Sean
she
is
wouldn't.
Standing Gaga,
She wouldn't
know.
She wouldn't really know what that meant.
What do you think someone would think it meant if someone said
I don't know. I mean, I suppose when you use it in that context, Sean's a huge Lady Gaga stan, someone would understand that it probably means fan. But yeah, I don't. When you don't have a context, it's just, it wouldn't make any sense because it's not, it's not a noun in English, really, is it?
Well, it's just a name, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a proper noun. So it kind of sounds like the word stand. So maybe that you're like standing in solidarity with someone or standing beside somebody. But I suppose this sounds so obvious to us in our generation, but the origins or the etymology of that term, meaning a super fan of somebody, comes from the Eminem song called Stan, and where it's about an obsessed super fan who has an obsession with Eminem, and so it became general usage to refer to someone as a super fan, as a stan.
And it's a verb now as well, so you can say I'm standing. I'm standing for them. I'm standing.
Yeah, like I've stand them for years. I think there would even be young people now who it's kind of like crossed over, who don't know,
too young to know the reference point.
The origin of that, because that was a long time ago.
It's a very Generation X thing, I suppose. Maybe Gen X, Gen Y thing, maybe.
Gen Y more, but the sort of tail end of our generation.
Yeah,
and it was like it kind of like the song happened, but then it was like half a generation later that term started to come used.
Yeah, that's true. I don't
mean that.
No. I feel like I only heard it being used maybe only in the last 5 to 7 years or something like that. And
I think I've heard it longer than.
Have you? Maybe you're more down with the kids than I am, but Stan. I mean, the song was it was about 20 something years ago, wasn't it?
Well, let's have a look.
Let's do some live tap live research.
2000, so 25 years ago.
25 years, wow.
And it was it had the interpolation of the Dido song.
Yeah.
Right.
What was that song called originally? Do you know? That one.
I can't remember what that's called. What?
So that's Stanning.
Oh, the Dido song was called "Thank You."
Oh yeah.
It's a very good song. I think it's one of
What,
the
the
best.
Dido song or the Eminem
No,
song?
the Eminem song. I think it's a
It is
really
good.
good example of that the reworking of an older song. And I mean
Yeah.
that Dido song wasn't even that old when that
Was
came out.
that
It was.
was that the one that he performed with Elton John? Remember, because there was a lot of discourse, wasn't there, with Eminem about his homophobia, because he had a lot of lyrics, a lot of sort of homophobia in the lyrics, perhaps,
Yeah.
or things that could be interpreted as homophobic. I can't really remember whether he used the F word or what
Yeah,
happened,
he
but
did use the F word.
okay. So, and then I think Elton John performed with him. Was it at the Grammys? I
Yeah, I
think it
think
was
it was
either
at
the
the
Grammys or
Grammys.
the MTV Music Awards, and
Yeah.
um, I suppose to sort of dispel any rumors or to show, look, I'm not homophobic or something like that, which is, it's such a tokenistic gesture, isn't it, to perform with Elton John? But was that the
Yeah.
song they did together, though? I was trying to think.
I, it, I think so, and I think Elton John sang the Dido
The
hook.
Dido bit, yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I
It's
was.
not. I mean, not cool for Dido not getting invited to perform.
No, but when Elton John's there, you're not going to say no to him, are you?
And then about 5 years ago, when Eminem released that Kamikaze album,
Oh
he
yeah.
had a song on there that had the F word on it,
Oh right. Oh
and
yeah, that's right. I remember that.
and he said that it's now, if you listen to it on Spotify, it's kind of like scratched out. Like
Oh
when you
right.
listen to it, it's mixed out quickly. And he said that he took it off that because his daughter sat him down and explained to him why, even if that's not his intention,
Hmm.
that why he shouldn't use that word, similar to why he wouldn't use the N
Is
word.
his daughter part of the queer community? Do you know?
I don't think so. I think she's a cis straight
He wouldn't
woman.
listen to the queer community then when they said it was offensive.
No. But anyway, people are all on their own journey, aren't they, Sue?
Everyone's on their journey.
Talking of
Um,
interpolations, is that how you say that word even?
well, what do you interpolations? What are you using
In
that in
in
reference to?
like in reference to the meaning of the word.
Oh,
Is that how you say the word?
no, interpretations. You're thinking
No,
of
no, interpolation.
interpolation. No, I think that's something different, isn't it? Interpolation.
Yeah, but that's the word I've been saying, interpolation.
Yeah, but I think
Like
that means something different, doesn't it? Than
different to what?
to what the way things are interpreted.
I'm not talking about interpreted.
What are you
All
saying
this
then?
episode, I've been saying interpolation
In regards to,
to Dido, the Dido song.
oh, like, okay, I see what you mean. Like when one song is used interpolated.
Yes, so that's the
Um,
term, right? Like you interpolate, like
I think so.
like that, because it's not a cover version of the song, but some of
Right.
that melody or elements of that song have been taken
Yeah.
and morphed into, and it's not
Yeah.
sampled. They're not sampling the original song.
No.
The melody has been used to create a completely different work, and I think
Yeah.
that's the term used is to interpolate or
Yeah. Maybe.
interpolation. So
Maybe.
speaking of interpolation, what do you think of the new Lady Gaga single?
Um, I like it, but I didn't realize there was an interpolation.
Yeah, and if you have a look on the writing credits,
Yeah.
it it has the names of the Banshees, like Susie and Steve
Why did
Saffron,
they have a
and
song Abracadabra?
no, they have a song called Spellbound.
Okay.
You know that song?
I think so.
Spellbound,
Okay. Yeah.
spellbound.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
There is a part in that Gaga song which is a melody interpolation of Spellbound.
Oh right. I didn't know that.
And like when I heard the Gaga song, I was like, oh, that sounds a bit familiar to me, and I couldn't quite place it. And so I listened to it a few times, and then all over social media, there was like, oh, rumors are that it samples
Hmm.
Spellbound by Susie. So I went on the Wikipedia page yesterday
Mm.
of the song, of the Gaga song, and it's got in the writing credits, it's got each of the members of the Banshees, the people who wrote it. And so it's very interesting that, she sort of did that deep reference to
Yeah. Yeah.
this spooky sort of song called like Abracadabra, and she had that melody interpolation in it to pay reference to that song by Susie and the Banshees.
I'll have to. Okay, I've listened to the song a couple of times. I've watched the video, but I didn't make that connection. But I was never a huge Susie and the Banshees fan anyway. So I mean, maybe that's why. If it was something else,
it's that bit of the song where Gaga's singing something about the lady in red.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The lady in red.
And she's got that outrageous sort of red hat on, hasn't she? Yeah.
So it's that same. It happens. It's like a pre-chorus or something, and it happens like a few times through the song, and it's just like a melody. It's almost like reminiscent of the melody, but strong enough that that's where she took inspiration from and credited them as the co-writers.
Thinking of interpolations, it's interesting. I'm hoping we're using the term correctly. It's interesting because I'm just writing a song at the moment, and I'm thinking I've sort of based it around a song by someone else, and I was thinking about some of my other sort of favorite interpolations, and I was thinking about what's that song from the 80s that had Ronnie Spector on it. I can't remember. It was a man singing. It was an American guy, and it was "Take Me Home Tonight." And it says, "Take me home tonight," and then it has Ronnie Spector doing the, "Be My Little Baby."
Yes.
And that's, I think, probably the best example that I can think of a really good interpolation of somebody using another upbringing, and not only using a line from another artist and another song, but actually bringing that artist in to sing.
But also, doesn't he reference, like... What's the lyric before she does that?
Take me home tonight. I'll see you till the morning light. Just like Ronnie said.
Ronnie says, yes. So
just like Ronnie said, and then she sings, "Be my little baby."
So he's even referencing Ronnie Spector.
Yeah.
In that. So interpolation is a technique in music that involves using a melody or lyrics from a pre-existing song in a new piece. Okay. It is similar to sampling, but instead of using a recording of the original song, the interpolation is re-recorded.
Okay.
And so it can be like melody, chords, or rhythms.
Lyrics?
Like what...
lyrics as well?
Yeah. Well, you just talked about...
Yeah.
Be My Baby thing. But, like that Dua Lipa song that... I mean, all her songs, but that song where it uses that bass line from, like, In Excess. I Need You Tonight bass line.
Yeah.
And it sounds... And in interviews, she said, "Oh, yeah, we did that, like on purpose." But I think it was sort of found out when it was about to be released that it...
Well,
really
a lot of Dua Lipa songs are sort of very formulaic in there. They've just taken an existing song and thought, let's just redo this song. And sometimes they get away with calling it an original song, and sometimes they have to give credit, I think. But
like what's that Gwen Stefani song?
What, Hollaback Girl?
Wind It Up.
Wind It Up.
That's like High on a Hill.
Oh yeah. It's from The Sound of Music.
From The Sound of Music.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose if a song is old enough and is now in the public domain, you probably wouldn't have to pay. I don't know if that song is considered.
There's that also. I was thinking in Hollaback Girl, she's got that sort of the music breaks down. She goes, "Oh, that's right, I'm the last one standing. Another one bites of dust," and it has that same.
Maybe she doesn't need to pay just for that lyric though. Maybe
not. But the drum beat then echoes that similar sort of that Queen.
And there's that Ariana Grande song called Seven Rings, which is from The Sound of Music as well, interpolated. I don't know that one. Some of my favorite things.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't know that Ariana. I don't know Ariana's oeuvre very well.
And what about when something like Madonna references her own songs?
I was just lyrics? Thinking of that. I was thinking,
but that's not really the same thing, is it? That's just like a lyric that's the same.
Yeah, but then she's done that in Hung Up. She says time goes by so slowly, and not only does she, that's a lyric from the song she did with Prince, Love Song, but not only does she use the lyric, but she uses the same melody as well, the same rhythm and melody, like same timing melody, like time goes by. It's very similar. But
and then when in Deeper and Deeper, where she says,
"Oh yeah, you got to just let your body
Like,
move to the music.
like, so she references Vogue.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's the same everything, isn't it? I mean, that's the same,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
vocal
It's the
melody,
way
the way she
arrangement
sings
and
it.
stuff. Yeah.
So that is like she's
What
interpolated her own
What
song there.
about? I don't really know if this counts as an interpolation, but when in that Salt and Pepper song, which one is it? Is it Shoop? When they say, like Prince said, I'm gonna swear now, just cover your ears. But
Well, they don't
like,
actually swear in the
well,
song,
no,
so
but they reference when, like Prince said, you're a sexy motherfucker.
yeah,
And
I don't think they need that would be a ref. Like, I don't think
is
that,
that
and I also don't even know if we're saying interpolation correctly. I don't know if it's interpolation. I don't know. So please,
interpolation?
any grammar aficionados out there
I
and
think any grammar
pronunciation.
aficionados would have switched off long ago. I don't think they would have
Yeah. So anyway, I don't think
persevered.
that salt and pepper thing is really an example of that
No.
because they don't go. I don't even know if we're going
Yeah,
to
but
get like in trouble for just saying these melodies out loud,
no,
out loud.
no,
I
you're
don't know,
allowed to discuss them, but you know, but it's not that different. I mean, it's shorter, but it's not that different to when that whoever that singer's whatever his name is when he says just like Ronnie says, "Be my little baby."
yeah, but then
It's just like
she sings the
yeah,
original melody,
yeah,
whereas with Salt and Pepper they say, like Prince said, "You're a sexy." That's their own
yeah. It's them
like
saying it.
tempo, and you know what I mean. It's not you sexy that way that
Yeah,
goes. It's
yeah,
not that. So they're
yeah.
just saying, like, I could say, I don't know, like Gwen Stefani said, she ain't no holla back girl. Like if I sang it or performed it in the way that she did,
Hmm.
I would probably have to give her writing credit. But if I said it in a completely different cadence or tempo, I'm just
Right,
referencing a historical fact. I'm not,
right.
you know. But anyway, with the Gaga song,
Hmm.
it I think it's really sensational. Like I think
It's really good. It's much better than I think more recent. Not. I'm not including the Joker Folie à Deux soundtrack album, but the previous couple of albums that she's had, which just haven't spoken to me like
yeah,
her older music did, and so it does feel a lot more in the vein of like classic Gaga banger, you know.
and it's just got those elements or those ingredients of Gaga classic tracks. So it's got like
Mm,
almost like multiple pre-choruses. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
there's so many hooks in it. So it's not just you're waiting for the payoff in the chorus.
yeah,
You've got these like it's like pre-chorus hook, chorus hook, post-chorus hook. There's all these elements. It's
mm,
also got the element of her sort of doing like things that sound a bit nonsense sounding, like
yeah,
how she does in
yeah.
Bad
This
Romance.
theatrical kind of vocal stuff. Yeah.
And then like the bridge is, I think, spectacular. Like the bridge of the song.
Did you watch her and Bruno Mars do California Dreaming at the Grammys?
Yeah, like it's a little cosplay to me.
Yeah,
Like it's a little
yeah.
bit like, well, let's dress up as, but they're
70s.
very good at it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, their vocals were like incredible.
Mhm.
She is a very uh, spectacular vocalist, but even for somebody who's like a massive stan and somebody who's appreciated her for a long time, I I think that she's somehow improving even the way
Yeah,
that her vocals sound. I mean, she sounds like she sounded amazing in that.
yeah, yeah. And part of that, I'm sure, is as you develop as an artist, you work harder and harder and harder and refine your craft, don't you? And
What I
she
was thinking,
figures out the
sorry,
things. She was going to say she probably is figuring out the things which work well for her as well. But yeah, she is an incredible vocalist, and that's something that was so apparent to the stands very early on in her career. That yes, there are lots of people who, lots of pop stars have good hooks and good songs, catchy songs or whatever. But it was her, for me anyway, as a fan, it was her vocal ability which really stood out above all else.
her. I was thinking whilst I was watching that awards show, I was thinking of what would that be like to be in that position, like having that intensity of an award show, being there to start with. Like, imagine if you were just in the audience and like Beyonce's walking in and all this, and there's cameras flying around, there's people shouting at everyone. Then imagine on top of that, you're one of the people in who are expected to do something. So you've got that pressure. Then on top of that, you need to change your outfit to perform in the middle of that show. Then you need to change back into another outfit. Then you win an award and you have to go on stage. And then the whole time that you're not doing any of those things, you've got camera a foot or 2 feet away from you waiting for your reaction.
And also you've got everyone's mobile phone camera trained at you the whole night. You know, anyone that's within like 10 or 15 meters of you is probably going to be trying to film you and trying to pretend to do it, you know, secretly, but obviously
I'm not saying, and these things go for hours. Like they
go for about 5 hours.
Yeah. So I'm not saying she's a hero, but I'm saying how exhausting would that be?
Oh, yeah.
And how would you not have a mental breakdown by the end of the night?
Well, I mean, I suppose after you've done a few of those sorts of things, you kind of take it under your, into your, what's the word? You know, what's the expression? You know, you just become accustomed to it.
You take it in your stride.
Take it in your stride, yes.
You know, like she had to get up and do that live performance in the middle of that show and knock it out of the park.
I know.
Gaga's the sort of person, if she falters a little, she'll get dragged. You know, even by her own fans, you know, people will be like, oh, you know, she messed that up. So it's almost like she has to be flawless.
Did you see, I'm not a fan really of his, but I thought it was a spectacular Benson Boone's performance. And how, I mean, I don't really like him as an artist, but, you know, I don't dislike him, but it's just not my thing. But his performance was spectacular. Did you see it?
Yeah.
You know, when he's sitting down at the table and then he like, you know...
Yeah, he's flipping all over the place. Every time he does an award, he's like flipping.
But it was a good performance. I'm just trying to think...
He gives some vibes that I can't quite put my finger on why I don't like. He's got like some energy about him that isn't my cup of tea.
Is it his religious affiliations?
Well, he's Mormon, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It could be that, but then I don't know that by looking at someone what denomination they are.
No,
but it's the I think the art that he makes is very blokey or something, or you know, like, do you know that band Imagine Dragons? It's kind of that, like Maroon 5, Imagine Dragons, like
it's not my cup of tea,
kind of vibe. Like it's real like straight man energy that isn't for me. Whereas someone like Bruno Mars, even though I've never bought a Bruno Mars record, he just has a bit more of a camp or sympathetic energy about him that isn't like, you know, Maroon 5 or Benson Boone. Like it just feels more accessible to me, or less like I'm butting up against it. For some reason, Benson Boone is not. It doesn't appeal to me, but I appreciate. Yeah, like he. You know,
I like the Charli XCX performance, which I thought was hilarious, especially with Julia Fox being on stage at the end.
Yeah,
that was very camp, very funny.
I mean, Charli is a bit of a strange place where she is teetering on becoming a parody of herself. Like
and I think she plays up to that. I think she's fully aware of that, and like it's just leaning.
I don't like that she really denounces some of her really bubblegum pop stuff, and she doesn't play it, and she talks down about it. You know, things like Boom Clap and that album, like what was the album called? With Boom Clap on it. I can't remember what the album was called, but she kind of like, you know, she had that not very good song with Rita Ora on it. That album, I really appreciate that album and what she was doing. And to me, it was like that perfect mix of bubblegum pop and that sort of punky, brattish attitude that she has. But now she'd moved a lot more into the electronic hyperpop side of things, and it doesn't appeal to me as much. And I don't like when artists disown stuff that they've done, because what does it say about the people that were digging it at the time?
Well, she might come full circle, though. She might, you know, it might just be her sort of her her progression as she gets older, and her writing style changes, and her musical taste change. You know, she may come full circle, and she may embrace it again in the future. But but what was I going to say about Charli XCX? I can't remember.
Oh,
but
she won a few Grammy awards as well.
She did. I did like Gaga standing up for trans people, which I thought was, I mean, it shouldn't be necessary, but in America at the moment, particularly, I mean, around the world, but especially in the US at the moment, I thought that was, it was good that she made note of that.
And Chappell Roan also said when she was on the red carpet, she spoke about trans rights and trans joy.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Chappell Roan performance?
I did. It was incredible.
Particularly camp and that big pink pony that she had on stage.
Yeah. I watched also, I didn't watch all of it, but I did watch some of the Fire LA, relief concert, which happened across 2 different venues at the same time, which was an interesting concept. I know it's been done before, but that was good. And Pink, what did Pink say? Pink says something like, ladies and gentlemen, and all other genders, which absolutely do exist, and I thought Pink's music's never really done a lot for me. I mean, she's worked with some great songwriters, and she's got some very memorable, some good songs, but I just think her overall kind of package just doesn't really work for me. But I do appreciate that she's very vocal in standing up for the queer community, and she's been doing that since the day dot. So
I know it doesn't mean anything, especially to her, but she does strike me as a little bit uncool, and like it's just a little.
Well,
in Australia we say daggy.
Yeah,
like it's just a little daggy. Like it's a little bit like to me, Gaga is a cooler version of Pink. You know what I mean? Like they kind of do similar things. They do anthems. They're
I see. I don't even see them as in the same kind of in the same pie chart circles. I think they're doing very, very different things.
But they do, they both are a little bit rocky in their delivery of music a lot of the time. Like Pink has very sort of pop rocky sounding stuff. So does Gaga. I mean, Disease is like a rock song. And then they are very, they play with gender. They also are very theatrical in their live performance. I mean, they both kind of came up around the same time. I don't know. Pink's been around a lot longer.
Pink's been going for a long time, yeah.
When she was...
I'm just going to mute. Hang on a second.
But when every time Josh coughs, I don't know if he's going to come back up or not. It's like, I don't know if you're going to cark it and just disappear.
I'm still here, damn it.
Yeah, I don't know. Pink's all right, but... she's not, I wouldn't go to her concert. Maybe if I got a free ticket, I would go.
Yeah.
And I mean, I
feel the same, actually. I would never pay to go to a Pink concert, but if someone said, here's a free ticket, I'll be like, yeah, sure.
Are you interested in going to see Beyonce when she tours?
No. Like her stuff's, again, it's never really done it for me. I can appreciate the talent that she has, but it's just... just some artists just don't speak to you, do they? Or they just, you just don't connect with them as an artist. You don't connect with their music or their vision or whatever. And
what about
if someone offered me a free ticket for Beyonce, I would definitely go.
And what about when Gaga tours? Because she's going to announce her tour.
I think I'll go. Yeah. Yeah.
What did you pay last time you saw her on the Chromatica ball? Was it about £80?
About that, yeah. About that.
So what's the most that you would pay to see Gaga?
Well, it would depend a lot on my financial situation at the time. If I had a lot of money, if I was feeling, like I had enough disposable income, I'd probably pay, Hang on, I have to pause again.
I'm also just looking out the window because there's a helicopter just outside my building, hovering. It's reminiscent of when you go to LA and they have the helicopters following.
Yeah, I thought I could hear it buzzing, and I wasn't sure because I've got the headphones on. I wasn't sure if it was coming from outside my window or
not to dox myself, but where I'm located is kind of near, not far from Liverpool Street. and if I look over that way, I can see its helicopter it's just there, like hovering in one spot. It's not moving. It's like it's just above something. Like I don't know, like a police copter or like a news camera. I don't know what's going on.
You don't see them that often in London. You know, in other cities they're quite common, but not in London. You might
see my neighbourhood on the news tonight. So talking of award shows, because we've just been talking about all these things that happened at the Grammys. Do you have any memorable times that you've been watching an award show that you've a performance that particularly sticks out in your mind? Or
well, I remember the first one that comes to mind is that Madonna doing Vogue in the the Elizabethan costumes. What was that? 90?
Must be 1990.
90, yeah. And I didn't have MTV at the time, but my friend across the road did, and we were both huge Madonna fans, and that was just watching those MTV awards at her house and seeing that Madonna performance was just so memorable. That's probably one of mine. What about you? What sticks out in your mind?
I would say that's probably one of the most iconic, also because it was blatant that she wasn't pretending to sing live. Like, they had no microphones. So it was like a performance piece. And it was like the first time somebody had really done something like that. It was like almost like a drag show.
Yeah.
That they came out and she wasn't pretending to sing live. I think part of that was probably, a considered choice because she's not that strong a singer live. And that would be an incredibly tough song to sing, right?
Yeah.
Like Vogue.
Well, especially in that sort of outfit. And
yeah, she was corseted. I believe that outfit was actually the dress that Glenn Close wore in Dangerous Liaisons.
Oh, really?
And that Madonna borrowed it and had it refitted too.
Oh, wow.
Because I think she was a big fan of that movie when that came out. I think it was the 1991 Music Video Awards, MTV Music Video Awards, when Prince did that Get Off performance with the
arse. With the arse out.
Because at that, it also had the performance of Paula Abdul doing Vibology.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that. Not
Hilarious.
As memorable.
I love it. I used to have that entire awards show on VHS, and I used to watch it just over and over.
Wow.
And there were loads of performances that I loved on it. There was Metallica doing Enter Sandman. And I think it was the year where REM won a lot of awards. And it might be that award show where Michael Stipe, every time he came up to get an award, he had a different message T-shirt on. So it would be like, I don't know, Band Guns or something.
That rings a bell.
And then when he'd get up, he'd take another T-shirt off. And then when it got to the final award that he thought he was going to win, he was like, oh, I've still got 3 more to go. And so he quickly took off to get the message out.
I was just thinking of award shows. I don't know if this would have been broadcast in Australia, so you may or may not have seen it, but I think it would have been the late 80s, sort of. I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say maybe 88, 89, or it could have been a bit later, but it was the Brit Awards from the Royal Albert Hall, and it was the presenters were Mick Fleetwood and Samantha Fox.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever see that in Australia?
Well, no, I've only seen clips of it on YouTube and photos because it's always referenced as a comical thing.
And it was just diabolical. I mean, it was so bad. Everything went wrong. I mean, also just the pairing of Mick Fleetwood and Samantha Fox. I mean, Mick Fleetwood's about 6'3". Samantha Fox is about 4'9" or something. And the comedy value of it was just brilliant. And it nothing worked. Like, it was just, it was a comedy of errors. And that stands out in my mind. My mum and I had gone to a youth hostel or somewhere in the Lake District, I think, and we were watching it in the sort of the common area of the youth hostel. It was just. I don't remember who performed. I don't remember anything apart from just Mick Fleetwood and Samantha Fox.
I mean, that whole story of you being in a youth hostel and common areas, that sounds horrific.
Well, it was like a holiday thing. I'm trying to remember who we were with.
Caravan club, so.
Yeah, but it was, that stands out. And another thing, thinking of award ceremonies, I didn't go inside. But when I was about, I'm trying to think how old I was, when I was probably about 18, I'm guessing 19 perhaps, maybe 18, I was a huge Shakespeare Sister fan. And I think it was the Smash Hits Poll Winners Party was being filmed at Olympia, which is not that far from where I was living at the time. So my friend Andrew and I went and stood outside the sort of the stage door because we wanted to. I think we'd already met Siobhan Fahey at that point, but we wanted to see her again. And she came out, and I ran after the car, but she didn't stop. So that stands out as a memory in my mind.
Stan.
What
have you ever been inside an award ceremony or something similar?
So at the Albert Hall again, I think this was, I don't know what year this would have been. I'll have to check my friend Ollie, but we bought tickets to the Smash Hits Poll Winners Party at the Albert Hall, and I mean, honestly, I couldn't tell you half the acts that we saw. I remember the Four Tops were there. Remember when the Four Tops had that Going Loco down in Acapulco,
like in the 80s?
Yeah, so 88 maybe. And I think Lisa Stansfield performed. Yaz performed. I think The Only Way Is Up. I met Sanita. She was, walking through the sort of general thing. That's the only one I've ever been to, I think. Have you been to any?
I think the only one that I've been to was, going back to the Take That episode, when I was on my Take That frenzy in Australia and they were on their Australian tour. Not only did I go to every Australian concert in each capital city, but they also performed at the ARIA Awards, which is the Australian, I don't know what it stands for.
Recording Industry Awards.
Recording Industry Awards, something like that. And it's like the official...
It's like the Brits, yeah.
Yeah, but they're also, I think, the people that do compile the sales charts and in Australia. And so Take That was set to perform at the ARIA Awards. I think it was in Darling Harbour, like the convention centre or something. And we were able to buy tickets to get into the ceremony. And we went in and watched them come out and perform, which I think they just mimed on stage to Back for Good. And then they left and we all ran out and chased their car. So we spent money to get into this award ceremony and didn't even stay.
Oh, well.
One of the funniest televised things I can remember seeing is in Australia. We used to have, do you remember the music show Countdown?
Molly Meldrum. No?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was the Countdown Awards, but they tried to have some music awards every year. And they had John Paul Young singing Lovers in the Air. Do you remember that song?
Oh, yeah. Well, because
was it in Romeo and Juliet?
No, wasn't it in Strictly Ballroom, I think?
Oh, Strictly Ballroom.
Yeah.
Okay, so it obviously had been a hit a long time before that, but then it had a resurgence in
Yeah,
popularity.
it was huge again.
Yeah, it was a massive song. And so at the end of the ceremony, they brought him out to sing that, and everyone was up and dancing, but it went on so long. And then they started it again, and he started singing, but then everybody in front of the stage just started leaving. And this poor guy was on stage singing Lovers in the Air, and streams of people are just like getting out of there.
Oh,
I think one of the most memorable performances, I mean, we talked about the Madonna one, and then the Madonna one where she did Like a Virgin was quite groundbreaking in 1985.
Yeah.
But for me, and my tastes and what I like and what has had the most impact on me was when Gaga did Paparazzi, where she was bleeding and hanging from the...
Oh, yeah.
You know, to me, that was quite groundbreaking for sort of this generation of new artists. I don't think there's been many more that impactful or that sort of revered.
Have I talked on this podcast? I know you know this story, but I don't know if I've talked on this podcast about my letter from Siobhan Fahey.
Yeah, you talked about it on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
As well.
Yeah. Because that I just thought, we're thinking of you. I was talking about Shakespeare's Sister, and then you mentioned Take That again, and I just, it just brought to mind that. So in case you don't recall which episode it was. I don't remember which one it was.
No.
But yeah, I wrote to Siobhan Fahey because I wanted to go to the Brit Awards because I was in love with Mark Owen from Take That, and I wrote Siobhan Fahey a letter asking could she get me into the Brit Awards because I was in love with Mark Owen, and she actually wrote back to me and said, sorry we can't. Dave and I are going to be in France or something,
That's quite hilarious.
I wish I could find that letter. I have no idea where it is.
And talking about Siobhan and award shows, like the hilarity of that Bananarama performance of them with all those scantily clad male backup dancers. Was it at the Brits?
What was that, the Brits?
I think it was the Brits. And was it Love in the First Degree?
Maybe. Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
And there's I don't know if I'm exaggerating, but 50 men in Speedos on stage with them, really camp doing and Bananarama are hilarious in that. I mean, the attraction is that they're not good at anything.
Well, yeah, no, that's a bit harsh, way harsh.
No, but what? They're not great singers. They're average singers. They can't really dance.
Yeah, there's a slightly unpolished thing about them, which is the appeal.
It's the same attraction as Charli XCX. It's
right. It's not this
I'm
polished.
I'm just going to do it anyway, or Shampoo. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
That's the attraction.
Yeah. But I'm just I'm trying to think what else at the Grammys that I really liked.
What, this year?
Or actually no, not the Grammys. That the fire relief thing. I loved No Doubt.
No Doubt were good.
Gaga's performance there was okay, but I didn't really like that new song that she sang.
It didn't. Just a basic throwaway thing they wrote.
I thought it was an odd choice.
I think that it's the same reason why her and Bruno didn't sing their big song at the moment. I think she wanted to give a bit more consideration and not be, I'm trying to sell these new products, or I'm trying to...
Maybe.
Because, at that Fire Aid thing, she didn't sing any new songs, apart from the one that is unavailable to buy.
Yeah.
And I think she wants to say, hey, I want to lend my clout to help this.
But not as an act of self-promotion.
Yeah, and the same with why they sang California Dreaming by who originally sang that, the Mamas and the Papas?
Well, I assume it was them. I don't, in that period, I mean, that was the 60s, 70s, I think. I think a lot of those songs, a lot of popular songs at that time would get recorded by about 20 different people.
Oh, yeah. That Die With a Smile song, has that grown on you at all over the months? Do you feel
it's okay. I wouldn't put it on intentionally, but when it comes on, I'm like, oh yeah, this is good.
When you see her do it in a stadium, you'll be like, oh my god, I love it.
Maybe.
But that song is so bizarrely huge. Have you seen, it was number 1 in the US for 4 weeks after being at number 2 for about 10 weeks. So
but wasn't APT, wasn't that also number 1? Would Bruno Mars have just been
he's now, I still think, got 2 songs in the top 5 there. But I mean, Die With a Smile just went back to number 2 for something else to take its place. But not only is it obviously big in the US, Spotify has the global charts. So it's whatever song that day is, how many people are streaming that song globally that day. So they have the daily global Spotify chart. Not consecutively, but Die With a Smile has been number 1 on that chart for 115 days. So the most streamed song on Spotify globally for 115 days.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Isn't that bizarre? Also, it's the second most days at number 1 on that chart in history. So
what's
the number 1
one,
song is that Dance Monkey song by Tones and I.
Right.
Do you know that Australian artist?
Mm.
And so this Die With a Smile song, it looks like it might pass that because the Dance Monkey song had 120 days non-consecutive at number 1.
Okay.
And this is 115.
Wow.
And it also looks like it's going to surpass the sales of Shallow which is Gaga's biggest selling song, it looks like in the next few months it'll then become, certified as her biggest selling and most streamed song in her career. And I like it, but it doesn't strike me that would, like with Shallow, I get it. I'm like, oh yeah, like there's elements of that where I can see why so many millions of people have connected with that. But Die With a Smile is just a nice song to me. It's like, it's a nice song and they do it well. I can't see it why it's been so sort of record breaking.
Yeah, it doesn't have the elements to me of such a big smash hit as something like Shallow.
Or like, would you compare it to other sort of global breaking things like I Will Always Love You by Whitney, or My Heart Will Go On?
No, those have more of that, smash hit element to them than Die With a Smile. But yeah, it's just weird. The whole landscape of music is so different these days, and the way people access music and everything, it's just such a different game.
But when something like Die With a Smile becomes a mega hit, it's broken out of, oh well, it's just a streaming hit, or it's just a radio hit, or it's just a sales hit. It's like all of those avenues, it has become a mega hit on all of those for it to have that level of longevity. To be number one in the US for even a week, you not only have to stream a lot, you have to sell a lot of physical copies, and you have to be played the most on radio. So that's how you get, and I think even maybe being used as a background sound in like social media contributes slightly now to some sales placings.
Okay.
So, something like that has to reach that level of saturation with mainstream consumers for it to be that big for that long. And I'm just like, who's listening to that much? Like, I'm a Gaga fanatic. I'm not listening.
Well, I suppose, radio play, I don't know what percentage radio play contributes to chart positions, but I suppose radio play would be another massive thing for, particularly in the US. I think there are just so many radio stations, and radio play is still such an important factor. I was just going to say, I don't know if we've got time. I'm just looking at the clock, and I'm just wondering, have we got time to talk about Emilia Pérez, the film? Or, I mean, we
can talk about it, because I don't have a ton to say about it, but it would be interesting to talk about, because it has been nominated, I think, for 13 Academy Awards.
Yeah, it's one short of the most nominations ever for a film.
But my immediate reaction, if I hadn't known that or anything about it and I sat down to watch that, I would have said this is one of the worst movies I've seen in the last 10 years.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't actually sit down and watch it in one go. I just got about halfway through and I just thought, this is ridiculous and so poorly made.
It makes Jurassic World look like a masterpiece.
Oh yeah. I don't even know where to start with it. I mean, I can't believe it's gotten that much acclaim. And, John Waters said it was one of his top 10 films of last year, along with Folie à Deux.
But, John Waters is quite contrarian, isn't he?
Yes, he is. But
I think that he also enjoys things that are bad, like in bad taste.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. He's there's the what's his name? The Pope of bad taste. Mm-hmm.
But like he might have seen that as like so perversely bad that it was enjoyable to him.
Yeah, perhaps.
And I could imagine that if you sat down with friends and you were having a party or something, you were all just screaming at it. It could be entertaining in that way. But the dialogue was unbelievable.
But everything about it was unbelievable. I mean, it was so badly made that they didn't. I don't think they used any sort of proper locations. Everything was filmed in studios, on sound stages, and it was so badly depicted. I mean, we'll get to Mexico in a minute, but like the scenes in Switzerland were so comically bad. Like all you would see is just like this cloud of snow, and them like walking through this like snowstorm. That was Switzerland.
But I wrote that in here, that why is it always snowing in Switzerland. Like
I know.
the arrival
ridiculous.
scene was in the snow at night, and the
Yeah.
leaving scene was in snow.
In the
I don't know if
snowstorm.
it was dark in a snowstorm. Like, what are the chances of her arriving? Also, there are so many plot holes that it beggars belief.
Well,
like,
I mean, you can't try and apply logic to it.
Dreadful. Like, to start with, this. Spoiler alert, a million here, but please don't even watch this movie.
Yeah,
like,
don't watch it.
I'm not even saying this as a joke. Like, do not watch this movie. It is.
Yeah, it will wind you up. It wound me up.
It is just annoying. This El Jefe of this cartel, this boss of the cartel, wants to transition to become a woman because she feels that she is a trans woman, not because she's trying to hide out from anybody, or it's because that's her. She talks about how she's been living without not living her truth.
Yes, but I wouldn't even credit it with being that clear cut. I think that the character talks so much about wanting to get away from the bad things that men do and stuff like that, and and it's not even that clearly defined, especially at the outset of the film, that she has body dysmorphia, that she gender dysmorphia, dysphoria, yeah, thanks. And that she, it's not even that, she doesn't explicitly state it that much at the beginning of the film. The whole concept of the film is so
Can we
flawed.
talk about how she's talking to this character who is a lawyer, and the lawyer says, "Have you already started this process?" And she opens her shirt. She's still presenting as a man. She opens her shirt, I presume, to show some breasts are starting to develop from being on hormone therapy.
So problematic.
Right? But this might sound problematic to some people. Nothing else about the appearance of this person shows the physical manifestation of someone transitioning.
No.
If you were growing, I'm not an expert, I'm not a doctor on trans healthcare and confirmations like therapies and surgeries, but if you were that far along your transition that you had started to develop breasts that you could show somebody, would your facial hair also be changing and the appearance of other parts of your physicality also be changing? I think let's not get bogged down in the detail. I think let's just say that this was clearly not written by a trans person or by anyone who had any real interest in portraying trans people or trans identities in an honest and respectful way. It was using the trope of transness just as a attention grabbing plotline, nothing more. It was how like in The Crying Game, there was that final reveal scene at the end, and the whole film sort of hinged on that. I mean, that was a different time, obviously. If this film had been made in the 80s, you might think, okay, well, it's different. But to make a film like this in this day and age is shocking to me. But it made no sense, and that's the most sort of offensive part of it. So if this person, this cartel leader, was incredibly wealthy beyond most people's imagination, enough to be able to just change their whole reality and where they lived and everything, and they had already started the transitioning, why would they contact someone who had nothing to do with that world?
No,
why would that person need to fly to multiple cities around the world to have interviews? You would just pay somebody.
That's ludicrous. Also, as if you would approach some random lawyer who has no experience with the trans community that is that is depicted in the film anyway. Why you would approach this lawyer, why this lawyer would say yes to that, the lawyer's character development was so two-dimensional. No, you were just thinking, why, they tried to portray it that she felt dissatisfied with her job at the beginning, but it was just not very well done. That she would just suddenly go, oh yeah, sure, I'll help this rich cartel leader in his transition to become a woman, as if, and yeah, like why? What was her motivation for doing that? As if wouldn't she have had some transphobia? I mean,
and also like why would she need to physically fly to Thailand and Berlin or wherever she went? Like
it's
there was
ludicrous.
that little weird graphic that came up that showed all these cities around the world, and it's like somebody who had the money to just transition would just pay a doctor to come to them. Like, why is somebody who knows nothing about trans healthcare flying around the world?
But the whole representation of, affirmative surgery was so problematic. Like,
because also
as if it's like shopping for a car or something. It's not like that. Like most
Emilia wakes up from all the surgeries at once, because when you transition and you have
bullshit. It's absolute
gender affirming surgery,
and also like the notion
in multiple different ways.
And also, exactly. You don't have like the vocal surgery at the same time.
Or the feminization, facial surgery.
No, like it was such a horrible representation of.
Also, if she's gone to the doctor that ended up doing the surgery, not the surgeries, but the one event, apparently. Why were they so weirdly transphobic and needed to be convinced? If they're an expert in trans healthcare, she's just like saying, no, like this is a real thing.
Yeah.
And the doctor's saying, well, if you're born a man, it's so weird.
And also, just that, I mean, I know it's a film, but as if you would go to one clinic and they'd be like, what are you doing? Man to woman, woman to man? Like, as if, like, there's just one fucking hospital somewhere which does all of these, like, gender-affirming surgeries, matter, like...
That song where they're singing penis to vagina, vagina to penis, I was just, like, screaming. I had to keep stopping it because I was shouting things out at the...
Yeah, and this is it. I stopped halfway through as this film's annoying me so much. And then I thought, no, I will...
That the whole Selena Gomez part of it, where like she didn't know. Like apparently, Emilia could show her developing breasts as person, but Selena Gomez could be married to this person and not understand that they were transitioning in any way. It made no sense. Like it's nonsensical. But then she got forcibly relocated to Switzerland because she said, I want to go and live with my sister in the United States again. But then a few days later she sees her husband has been killed on the news. Why 4 years later is she still sat in Switzerland in a snowstorm on her own?
None of it makes sense. But also, can we talk about Selena Gomez's Spanish? Because I mean, you and
she's meant to be like from the United States. Like her character is Mexican American who speaks, and like she keeps falling into English because it's meant to show that she can't communicate fully in Spanish. So that part of it, whatever. Like
maybe, but I just don't understand. Like you and I are not, Spanish is not our first language, but even we could see her Spanish and just be like, what on earth is going on with her Spanish? Like her Spanish was just ludicrous. It was like...
Hill also said, because for anyone who doesn't know, my husband is Mexican. And, I mean, him and his friends and he watched that when he went to visit Mexico recently. And they were all screaming and laughing and saying, this is the worst thing we've ever seen. Because he was
horrible.
saying, like, the representations of the culture even were just... not non-existent or laughable.
No.
And the language, he said, even the people who were meant to be Mexicans, not like Selena Gomez's character, but other characters, were using language and terminology that is not used in Mexico, vernacular.
Right.
And what about
But the whole depiction of Mexico was just, I mean, why they couldn't have filmed it in Mexico, I don't know, but just the way they represented, like, the street markets and like the taquerias and stuff, like that lawyer like sitting with her laptop at a taco stand. I mean, you just...
Well, I didn't know if that was just some sort of creative way or, blending reality with
like magical realism sort of
yeah,
stuff.
like it's like, oh, I'm so busy working, but I'm also part of the like I wasn't sure about that bit because it was
Maybe,
in the
but
middle of a song. Also, the songs were
oh,
terrible.
the songs were awful. Yeah, the
Like they
songs
almost
weren't.
weren't even songs.
If the
People are
songs had
saying
been
that
good, that might be a
the
different, But
the lead actor who played Emilia, she people are saying that she actually wasn't singing, that it's
yeah,
AI
I heard that.
generated because
Yeah,
um but also what about the storyline that after she transitioned, she brought this lawyer back from London who she went and face to face talked to at a dinner party in London
right. Yeah, I
and
mean the whole thing was. Yeah.
brought her back to start a charity to help relocate the bodies of disappeared people.
It was
Because
so
why did
but
she
also
want to
like
do
so
this?
insensitive. Like when you live in Mexico, as we have, the disappeared people. It's such a strong presence in day to day life there. There are so many people. There's over 115,000 people in Mexico that are disappeared,
I think it's more.
and
I think it's
well, that's the official
yeah.
figure. So God knows what the actual real figure is. But yeah, it's such a disrespectful way of presenting that section of life in Mexico.
And
Or
also
that.
if you had transitioned and you also had sent your family away to another country for fear of retribution or
Hmm.
reprisal,
Hmm.
would you become the national spokesperson for a
Exactly.
charity?
Like, oh,
Like it was nonsense.
yeah, absolute nonsense. Also, like, you know, then she gets it. Then she's helping one of the women whose husband has disappeared. She gets into a relationship with her and doesn't disclose that she's a trans woman. And I mean, that's a whole debate to be had. But it really buys into that horrible transphobic stigma or idea that exists in society
Yeah.
that people say, well, I wouldn't want to end up in a relationship with a woman, only to find out it was really a man, and that horrible transphobic
Yeah.
uh, thing that goes around and is used as a political football, is used to further transphobic causes or
And
ideas, and
and
it
then also
just.
that the nonsense about that charity, then there was this whole stream of people coming into there to let them know
Oh
either
well,
that they had a family member missing or I want to tell you where some bodies were buried
yeah,
that I
are completely
the
unrealistic and really
nonsense
insulting
because
actually to the.
like it diminished the violence and the threat of violence and the
Yeah,
coercion that people
yeah,
who even perpetuate these crimes what they're involved in and they fear for their lives that then they had that man walk in singing badly saying I just want to live a good life and tell my children the honest way and do the right thing and help these families get closure. I know where there are bodies. And I was just like, this is so offensive
yeah,
on
highly
so many
offensive.
levels. But the Sophia, what's her name? The actress,
Got
Carla Sofia Gascon.
Guscon.
She'd nominated for an Academy Award for that, which to me is like, I don't even know what's going on. But all of now, there's all this drama because all of these old racist and bigoted tweets that she made
Yeah,
have all come forward, and
yeah,
people are like, "What do we
yeah,
do? Like, what
yeah,
should she be like nominated?"
yeah. Denominated, maybe. I mean, yeah. I mean, I was reading some of the
Mm.
tweets the other day, and it just really horrible, right wing, Islamophobic, racist,
Mm.
just horrible stuff.
Yeah,
And yeah, you can't help but wonder, or you can't help but think that the Academy, what's the official name? The Oscars? What is it? The recording not the recording academy.
I don't
The
know what I don't know what they're
but anyway,
called.
the Academy, as they're known, just because they've been quite rightly criticised in recent years about being such a white organisation. There was the whole Oscars so white thing
And
5
also
years
like
ago, maybe.
anti-women.
Yeah. Um, you can't help but they're just doing a really badly thought out um, response to that, just trying to sort of be more inclusive in their nominations. And I don't know, maybe that's too cynical, but I can't understand how this film became nominated in so many categories and how it's been lifted up as a good film.
To me, it's a mystery how any one person could sit down and watch that film and think any part of it was entertaining, well made, enjoyable, let alone award worthy.
Yeah. And especially it's an American organization, it's an American award ceremony. And to have that lack of, if somebody from, I don't know, like if somebody from Japan saw that film and thought it was a really good film for this reason or that reason, you could contextualize it to some extent and say, well, they're maybe far removed. But for an American organization to lift up and to promote a film which represents Mexico, which is their next door neighbor, and to be that culturally insensitive and to have such a culturally insensitive representation of a country that is so closely tied to the US, it just beggars belief. Like, I actually can't believe that the film got made and that it got nominated.
It's a French filmmaker, is that correct?
French filmmaker, yeah. Now, the whole film was made in France.
And I don't think he even speaks Spanish, is that correct?
I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, it's a horrible, horrible film. I wish it didn't exist.
And just even the ending. But it had this weird message. Like, how would she go from being a murderous, uncaring man who, as a cartel boss, killed probably thousands of people and hurt a lot of people?
Yeah.
Is it because she is now a woman? It taps into some innate kindness in her to do the right thing? Like, it's so bizarre.
That's exactly what I wrote in my notes. I said, what does this say about gender roles in society? That is the takeaway supposed to be that in order to recognize how wrong it was to kill people as a cartel boss, she had to transition. Like, that only a woman could understand how horrific violence was, that men couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, and also, because like we said at the top, but like her trans journey or her motivation for becoming a trans woman was not so unclearly defined anyway, that you almost came away thinking, well, did she transition just to get away from the violence of being a man? And it's just, what kind of horrible message is that?
Yeah.
And how insulting.
And then, not only mention the most ludicrous thing, that the Selena Gomez's character, Jessie, had no concept that was her husband for all of that time, right up until she whispered to her, oh, these are things that only your husband would know. And then Selena Gomez is like, oh my God. Like,
yeah, I know.
It was so ludicrous.
Ludicrous. Like, as if you can have that much surgery. I mean, whether it's a trans issue or not, whether you just are having cosmetic surgery on your face, that you could change your appearance so much so that people wouldn't recognize you, that you would go from being a well-known cartel boss to being the national spokeswoman for a charity who's on the, on TV being interviewed. Ludicrous. Just horrible, horrible film. Do not watch Emilia Pérez.
Hill was screaming at the most at that bit where the little kid was singing, "You smell like my father.
You smell like my abuelito.
You smell like my father."
You smell yeah. Oh no, I'm thinking of. There was a parody I'm thinking of, but yeah.
Oh yeah, you smell like my father. You smell like guacamole and.
You smell like mezcal and guacamole.
Mezcal and guacamole.
Oh,
Hill was like screaming, laughing at that. It was
horrible.
So terrible.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Imagine if that won Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Like, what it would just.
Well.
Completely.
Yeah. Nothing would surprise me anymore. But yeah, it's just, I can't believe it got platformed.
No. Anyway,
horrible.
Well,
Don't watch it.
That's all we have time for.
Yeah.
I feel like if we did talk about it any longer, all I would do is sit here for an hour saying how terrible it was.
Well, that's it.
There's not even any constructive criticism I can give it.
No, it's horrible. Like, at least with Jurassic World, I think we could critique it in a way which sort of broke down individual components to sort of give it give ourselves and hopefully our listeners a deeper understanding. But with this film, I don't think it deserves. I don't think it merits that. It's just a horrible, horrible film that shouldn't have been made.
Yeah.
But
terrible.
Anyway, let's wrap up before I have another coughing fit, because I've gone about half an hour without coughing. It's amazing, but I can feel like the tickle in my throat. So, if you want to follow us on social media, you can. We have an Instagram account for Tell Me Where I'm Going Wrong podcast. And we would love it if you subscribe, whether you're listening on Spotify or if you're watching on YouTube. Please do hit the subscribe button. And if you're not aware, if you've just come recently to the podcast and you're not aware, I don't think we mentioned it in a couple of episodes, but the theme song is a song that I wrote called Empty Seat, and it's about the end of my relationship with Sean, and we've used that as the theme song, and you can stream that on all streaming platforms if you look for Josh and the Jump Starts, and you can listen to my other music as well if you like.
And you can follow me on Instagram or any of the social media platforms as Fat Gay Vegan. And you can read my blog, fatgayvegan.com. And that's where you can also see all of the events that I'm involved with, which includes hosting a queer open mic in London monthly with Josh. So please come along, even if you're just an audience member. We'd love to have you along and meet you in person. So thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I suppose we just have to make a choice. Penis to vagina.
Or vagina.
Or
vagina
to penis.
To penis. Vagine to penis. Vagine to peen. All right. Well, shall we let's call the episode Vagine to peen?
Yeah, I think so. It makes as much sense as that movie did.
All right, folks. We'll see you in your feeds next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.